got a long, long way to go. And where we'll end up, I don't know. But we won't let nothing hold us back. We're putting our show together. We're polishing up our act. If you've ever been held down before, I know you refuse to be held down anymore.
Emerging from a cocoon into a caterpillar, from a caterpillar to a butterfly. The metamorphosis is here, it's live. Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, word, sound and power, music, drumming, current affairs, everything to grow and lift up your mind. Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, creating beauty and stimulating change from a constant supply of relevant knowledge and information.
No more youths and youths for sale. We get wise and don't decide to change their style. Bobby wrong, keep your empty promises and your crooked smile. Metamorphosis, come with your thoughts, change your way of thinking. Metamorphosis, the change begins with you.
When a parted black men of Ethiopia, Timbuktu, Alexandria gave the light of civilization to this world. Ethiopia shall stretch forth our hands unto God, and princes shall come out of Egypt.
I, son of the Most High, Jah Rastafari.
Keep listening.
To hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? you should ask yourself who taught you to hate being what God gave you. We teach you to love the hair that God gave you. Here you way out in the middle of the ocean, can't swim, and you worried about someone that's in the bathtub and can't swim. We don't steal, we don't gamble, we don't lie, and we don't cheat. And that also deprives the government of revenue, because you can't get into a whiskey bottle without getting past the government seal. You can't open a deck of cards without getting past the government seal. There's a white man makes the whiskey and then puts you in jail for getting drunk. He sells you the cards and the dice and puts you in jail when he catches you using them. So he's against us because we fix it where he can't catch you anymore. We take the dice out of your hands and the cards out of your hands and the whiskey out of your head. The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. And as Muslims, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us to respect our women and to protect our women. And then the only time a Muslim really gets real violent is when someone goes to molest his woman. We will kill you for our woman. I'm making it plain, yes. We will kill you for our woman. We believe that if the white man will do whatever is necessary to see that his woman gets respect and protection, then you and I will never be recognized as men until we stand up like men and place the same penalty over the head of anyone who puts his filthy hands out to put in the direction of our women.
Africa with the intention to steal our culture. The good for the post by and say, humble yourself, my little one. Humble yourself, my children. Humble yourself. Oh, my brother, wa-da-da. Oh, wa-da-da. While you're done, I leave. Wa-da-da. Oh, wa-da-da. Me love in Africa. Wa-da-da. Love and emotion. My interpretation, love.
The decriminalization of ganja in Jamaica is a hoax. Is a hoax.
Where is your love, Jamaica? Where is your love, Jamaica? Where is your love, Jamaica? I can see your love, I can feel your love, I even touch your love. I don't know about your love. Taught them the way to love one another. Wa-da-da. Shall not enter. These are all alone. We walk on a true monster, sipping from the cup of peace. Chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise to the whole man of creation.
Tinastilin. Greetings. Metamorphosis. Dr. Iman Blak, your host. Searching for the source of knowledge, liberation, the way forward out of degradation, psychological, spiritual, economical. Plantation, this large slave factory, as the population captured. But because of ancestral forces and energies, we continue to resist and to give thanks and praise within the resistance.
body. My head never swell, my heart never leap, I never have no fear from within. My head never swell, my heart never leap, I never have no fear from within. You know the road is so foggy, foggy, yeah. You hardly see.
Yes, hi, greetings again, and welcome to ones and ones who are listening in tune to Stars FM, coming out of northern eastern section of the rock, grounded in Portland, centralized in Port Antonio, beaming strongly into the north east section, into the Confederation parishes of Paul Bogle, Nani, Taki, Garvey. So we hail all the people within this immediate environment: Port Antonio, Buff Bay, St. Mary, St. Thomas. And of course the rest of the island that is tuned in as the waves of Sides FM goes further and further. Moving to St. Catherine, hail the people in St. Catherine and down the coastline, various spaces on this rock. This is a tough rock. On the rock we are trying to celebrate something called Child's Month in this center of this macabre attack on children, abductions, missing, wondering if there are aliens now abducting our children. They're disappearing so quickly. So it is a critical time within the evolution of this nation, island, community. So we have to kind of, at some point in time, reflect in seriousness. There's room for partying all the while and celebration, but in reality there must be time for introspection and reflection. The plantation society doesn't encourage the workers and the slaves to think, because we are preoccupied with finding the papers to pay for the bills. So it's a serious trap that has been formulated from the time the Englishmen decided to emancipate themselves. And in that emancipation, the population was put into a thing called apprenticeship. And apprenticeship never really ended. Apprenticeship is where you work for free. And then you get the name Prento. And you work beside the master, but you don't get no pay. And you make sure so the master do what him do, and him is the master craft, but you is the apprentice. And we seem as if we never evolved out of apprenticeship from 1834 onwards. They must tell us say 1838 we are fully free, never telling us how apprenticeship ended. So the situation that we're in real now in this rock here is apprenticeship the population locked into, you know. This is why I know the people who are called civil servants and the public workers, public servants, no longer the servants of the field in that enslaved format. They are now public servants, and in that way now they get no income. So this is why the nation right now is being paralyzed almost routinely with the people who are put into these work positions, not getting enough revenue to even meet them monthly requirements. This is the reality of the rock, where people who are trained as teachers and people who are trained as policemen and all the various agencies that make a society function, the society don't want to give these people any money. Because when you give them money now, they're going to be free from debt. And we're talking about debt. No, this semantic D-E-B-T. We're talking about D-E-A-T-H, financial D-E-A-T-H. Them describe, them kind of disguise that one and spell it different. But the situation is that it is a plantation that is unwilling to deal with the population. And so those who are called children and offsprings now, they become brutalized. Because even those who produce them don't even have the resources to maintain themselves. So there's a very vicious cycle taking place here now, and a whole heap of hypocritical crying out in these one-day wonders to help our children. All of a sudden now, the nation is becoming sensitized to children and the children of our future, And every child must learn and a whole heap of talk. And in the practical world, the parents of these children need to be brought to book. Because they never really birthed themselves. And what is it about that generation of parents that is causing this type of outburst of type of picnic? So the thing can't be solved by suddenly becoming emotional about children. Because it's a financial burden sometimes. Every time you have to look around the next month and there is no financial return. So it's worse than on the days of the plantation. Because now the illusion is that you're free, but you can't afford the basic bills to maintain that freeness of the mind in particular. So something's going on here. And there is crisis in the way the violence has moved beyond just male and female, but now on the what you call the posterior. And how do you address that? We can't simply address that by having mass meetings and people blowing horn and wearing certain colors, because then there's still next week and the following week. So we have to work our way to get to the core, the essence of the problem, without dealing with the flare-ups. And it goes into our philosophy and into our culture and into our organization of ourselves as a people. What is a family? Do we still have the concept of family amongst the black people? Or is it that everything now is run by independents and independent women and independent men, and therefore these children that we're having are oftentimes fatherless, and oftentimes the single parent can't deal with. So the whole thing needs a revision. And it cannot be resolved by the politicians simply coming out and begging for mercy for the killers to turn in themselves and all this kind of thing. This is a joke. So and I want to look into certain aspects of governance on this rock. Governance from the days of Henry de Morgan. Governance leading up to the days of Governor Erie, who brutalized I in St. Thomas. And look at the whole issue of violence and see if it is something that is just overnight, or it is something that has a deeper source and cause, which we be better paying attention to that. And then now, I want to touch on the hoax. I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out what this decriminalization amendment and act was all about. Because a whole heap of things happening at once, at different levels. And in my meditation first night, on the hill of Titchfield, looking into the ocean, the word that I was searching for came. One word to describe what this decriminalization of ganja in Jamaica really is. And the word I had to come up with was hoax. H-O-A-X. And what is a hoax? Explore that. But it is a hoax.
In these times of trouble, we've got to open our eyes, for we need some equal rights. In these times of trouble,
Yes, people, we're coming together in our meditation and we're searching and we're thinking, finding ways to extricate the I from the mist of fear and doubt. That these two aspects have been injected, these two pieces of psychology have been injected in our being forcefully. Fear and doubt. Until we can drive away fear and doubt, there will be no clarity in our thinking. And one of the greatest fears that I and I have is the fear of death. They have programmed that into I and I, to fear death, because of the program that death is the end. So there are some things that we have to unplug, unlearn, to liberate the I. Because much has been used to plug I and I down, you know. Much falsehood, much illusions have been used to present it to the imagination to keep the I under control. Because a liberated I is not a slave. A liberated I is a inspiration. It's a center of consciousness, a center of awareness, a power within reality. That is the power of the liberated I, with the capacity to change the external environment with knowledge of your internal environment. So it's all about coming into contact with the divinity that is within, the life. You know, I always talk about a coin having three sides. And the third side is usually not obvious, because them program us to see only heads and tails. But between the head and the tail, there is something keeping the head and the tail together. There is an energy and there's a force. So I'm calling that now the life. That is the life energy that keeps head and tail together. And it exists within the form of a third side to the coin. But the program thinking of duality, and either make it difficult to see the third perspective. And so part of the liberation now is be able to move your thinking beyond the binary, beyond the either, to recognize that it can be neither. Yes, it can be neither. So there are greater options now to think. We need to break out of that binary. It's a trap, you know. It's a trap in the mentality and the capacity to think. No, the other thing that I want to really deal with within the metamorphosis is something that has expressed itself in the world of sports, but it's related to governance. So the link that I want them to begin to penetrate is this. We have international football played by more nations than what belong to the United Nations and WTO. Over 205 countries belong to this organization called FIFA. They're a world government. They have a president, they have executive, they have laws and statutes and power and money. It is the most powerful sporting organization, and it is the largest one in the world. So them man now establish principles of governance globally. And they had come to a conclusion very, very recently that the administrative bodies of the football in each country, some of them were too big. In other words, now the federation them had too many people in the body of the federation. And this big, giant organization that is run out of Europe, out of Zurich, I think, Switzerland, led by Sepp Blatter. Their governing body, FIFA, have something like 8 or 9 persons that make it up. So the thing about it now, how can a body that governs the world have so small amount of people? 10 and less. So then pass a decision now to the rest of the federations in the world that they must reduce the size of them federation. Now, you see in Jamaica, the size of our federation was up to like 37 people. We're talking about our football in our stuff. 30 odd people, you know, make it up, you know. And when FIFA passed them decision, there was a little resistance in Jamaica, because you know we stay, we go on like we can just run things our one way and we don't have to pay attention to the governing body because we is Jamaican, we just tough. Well, you know what FIFA did now? FIFA decided to just withhold the money. And in that withholding of the money now, it forced the Federation to cut it from 30-something down to 17. I tell you I them now. So it's 20 odd people get runway. Because, first of all, apparently the numbers were too big in the first place. There are problems now that you go on to 17, you know, because there's a loop of quarreling and enough grumbling as who lose power and who lose power. But the point is, and I want to make the point and carry it on to the metamorphosis. This directive from FIFA for the Federation to cut the Federation size and bring it to numbers that are more useful. It is not impossible now for us to look at this relative to our parliament, you know, the governing body now for our national politics, you know, and consider that is 63 people we have in place running a small island like this. 63 people. Now, maybe we need an organization like FIFA to look at this and make a strong recommendation that we cut the size of the parliamentary people. Do we really need 63 people to run an island this small? We have to re-examine now where all that money going, where that resources being spent, and can that money be spent better, and can the island be governed better in the way FIFA recognizes that international federations can govern much better if them cut off the baggage from the top. Metamorphosis, Size FM. Also, within the realm of governance, I want to look also at this thing that has been in the immediate attention of the people, this thing called the CCJ, the Caribbean Court of Justice. It has become a issue that is divisive, as most things are in Jamaica, along party lines, PNP versus JLP. And the issue seems to be, as usual, not about Jamaica, but about what each party thinks. This Caribbean court now relates to the concept of justice on this plantation. Because within the framework of governance, being locked into the Queen and her Queen's Council and Privy Council, the average African here cannot afford to appeal to Her Majesty's Privy Council for just ice. So the notion of also realizing that justice doesn't rest only in the minds of white people. They are not inherently fair, because the idea is fairness we want. We want fairness, but we seem to be thinking that fairness comes only out of Europe because white men are fair. Yes, and Columbus was fair, and Governor Erie was a fair man, and so was Henry Morgan, and all this notion of white people being feared is another illusion. So, governance is being tested now, because we have people who are put in political positions to define the nation's fate. And now this justice system, which in reality don't really work too well here, because we just have a man come out of prison being locked up for 25 years because them forget where he is, and all sort of frame up going on here, and false imprisonment, and so there's a whole lot of issues in the local system right here on the island. Enough inefficiencies. But when you're in a position where you can appeal and take the appeal now to the highest level, where should the highest level be? Should the highest level still be in England, where they think that they have virtue and a monopoly on rightness? Or could that be brought into the region and therefore controlled and defined by the people who run the region, which is the black people, the African people, the Indian people, the people of melanin? So there seems to be a conflict now between trusting the people of melanin and trusting the people without. And there are those who believe that the people without melanin are wiser and are closer to the truth and are more just. So if we appeal to them, we'll get justice. Well, locally now, the PNP, which is a governing party, they are moving ahead with signing up this Jamaica into the Caribbean Court of Justice. The opposition is behaving exactly what the words say, them opposing. What is sort of revealing in the opposition is that here we have a young leader of the opposition. And the leader is declaring that he is in line with the 1950s position held by the JLP and Bustamante. This is 2015. And the vision of the present leader is no different from Bustamante and Edward Seaga and the dinosaurs of the party. They are not for integration. They're not for regionalization. So even within our local politic, one tribe is saying Caribbean unity. The other side is saying Jamaica must stand alone. The side that's saying Jamaica stand alone, the people in that party saying party first. Them not saying Jamaica first. The people who say in Caribbean court, them saying party first. Them not saying Jamaica first. So the Jamaica people know, them say it must be put to us as a people, as a referendum. But it is required that the population be informed about what are the choices, what are the options. Obviously, these things don't take place. So the parties them struggle and the people continue to flounder. And we're holding on to the Queen and the Governor General. And we still can't see Marcus Garvey. Metamorphosis into I-word, sound and power, looking at identity. This notion of this region, this region that I and I live in, this geographical region, it has its own history. Even perhaps before it was occupied by people in its anciency. So this region that we are now in terms of the stories that we have been given from the histories of other people, we are told that this region is identified through the era of Christopher Columbus, through the misnaming of a region by Columbus, who thought he was where he was not. So I and I in this hemisphere now been given this perspective of naming. Because naming is an important aspect of civilizations and cultures and rituals. Naming. So we didn't know how did this region really achieve its name and the residents. What then would you, and how could you identify the residents of this region? We hear that we are in the Americas, first and foremost. That the bigger geographical label for the region is the Americas, which suggests that we're speaking about continents. The Americas. There's Americas, the Northern Americas, Central, and there's South. So this region now, let us say, is the Americans. Now, the word America now, of course, is derived from somebody. There's a man, the name Amerigo Vespucci. We can explore that to find out the name or the sound America came about. But before America, before white people invaded this region was here. And it was occupied. People were here. Historical and artifacts show that cultures have been here for thousands of years. So what was the name of these people? And what did people call this area? What did they call this region in which they live, that we now call by names that we have been given? First and foremost, the West Indies. So our introduction to this space now as black people in captivity is that we are living in the West Indies. And we are told that this identity of being a West Indian was really through the movements of Columbus, who left Spain trying to go to India. And wherever he landed, he decided that this was the Indies and decided to call this area the West Indies. Now, African people, black people, indigenous people to the continent, when those persons were uprooted and violently transported into these Indies, the identity of these people were removed. And the nation from which these black people belonged was no longer applied to them. No longer were they Igbo. No longer were they Ashanti. No longer were they Zulu, Mandingo. All of those identities were obliterated. And new identities were placed now on these black people. West Indian will be the first label. So we have black people coming out of Africa, now being relabeled as Indians living in the West. West Indians. No more Africans. West Indians. The paradox is that Indians were also in this region. And these Indians were not from Africa. So we have Africans who are labeled as West Indians. And we have Indians who are classified as East Indians. Identity theft through enslavement.
Friday night now, I just feel me I tune into because, you know, me always even watch some other television and stuff, and that I have to see for later. I have to really listen to you first, you know what I mean?
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let Styles FM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Styles FM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
Remember Styles FM on social media. View us on YouTube, Styles FM Radio. Follow us on Instagram at Styles FM. Like us on Twitter at Styles FM 961. Become a fan on Facebook. Styles FM 96.1.
Styles FM presents Fan Fusion Party Episode 2. Retro Gunyan, the deadliest retro music party event of the year. Saturday, July 11, 2015 at Bayview Villas. Waterfront property, Dolphin Bay, Port Antonio, Jamaica. Party starts at 7 sharp. Meet and hear your favorite Styles FM DJs. Playing 35 years of hits from the 70s to early 2000s. Admission $400 pre-sold, $500 at the gate. Listen to Styles FM for ticket outlets or contact 286-9216. Must be 18 years and older to enter. ID required. Drink responsibly.
Styles FM.
It's time to rock. We're going to be rocking Jamaican radio like it's never been rocked before. 96.1 on your FM, man. Styles FM. Don't you miss it. Saturday morning from 9 o'clock until 1 on the PM. Yours truly calling Anthony the man with all the money on it. Takes the way with the music. Yes, Styles trivia, news, features, and much more. We've got
got it in store, don't you miss it. Every Saturday morning, live on Styles 96.1, the People Station. We've got a plan, you've got a plan. Call in Anthony.
Greetings, massive. This is yours, Freddie McGregor. We feature to the world right now a man called Iman Blak. You don't know him deal with Metamorphosis, and him give us a great vibe around here. Bust it again one more time and teach the people. Iman Blak, Iman Blak.
Metamorphosis continue into exploration within the notion of identity. Black people uprooted and transported out of their native settings, brought into this torture chamber and spat out through force and brutality and relabeled and renamed within this section of the plantation as West Indians. And this identity would be adopted and internalized by the black people here. The black people who were brought into the North American plantation were immediately told that they were not Americans. Their identity now revolved around being colored. In the Caribbean, in the West Indies, it was about being West Indian. Because of the mixture of the racial groups here, in particular, it was more appropriate to appear. But the majority Africans, of course, dominate this region. Indians came in as indentured servants in the 1850s, particularly in Jamaica. And the Chinese came along same way to provide services, but were never enslaved and taken away from their own language and culture and practices. Critically, they maintained their name. Chin and Yap remained Chin and Yap, and Singh and Vaswani remained as they were. But Murutumbo and Kashiva became Smith and Brown and Johnson. So the identity now dilemma intensifies in this region. And there's a mixture of racial groups here. And it becomes a space now that has its own identity after a while. And in particular now to the identity of this space. Oftentimes because Jamaica and this section of much of the region is English speaking, we tend to ignore the contribution of Haiti to this region. And the fact that Haiti was a liberated force, a liberated state in this region. So the region is not about slavery, because Haiti has been a beacon of liberation, was once considered to be the pearl of the Antilles. No, the very name, the Antilles, comes to the front. Because before Columbus lost his way, as I said earlier, the region had an identity by the people who lived here and journeyed here for thousands of years before the British came out of or the Englishmen came out of their European settings, or the Spanish. And the name that was attributed to this region before Columbus and the Spanish was the Antilles. Yeah, Haiti was the pearl of the Antilles. And it's still written on the maps. Greater and Lesser Antilles. No West Indians. No West Indians. Antillians. People of the Antilles. And the Antilles as a word has a root meaning. That if you trace Antilles, you end up with words that sound like Atlantis. The identity of this region goes way beyond what the British told us. It is for I and I to explore beyond the walls of being a West Indian.
Of America, here's the hottest Java.
I would say that the Haitian people have been the most liberated black people in this section of the Americas. The Haitians. Yeah, man, they have been the beacon of liberation for black people. And it's important that we know that story and not take the version that comes out of France. Yeah, serious thing. And because of the language barrier, we are given the impression that the Haitians are somehow inferior to the English speakers. But if you know the story of Haiti and the movement between the Moors from West Africa through Spain into Haiti, and the contribution of the Haitian Revolution to the uprisings of the black people on this Jamaica island. So we are kindred brethren and sisterins with the Haitians. Maybe just for I and I to learn some French. Yes, it was part of the school program here in the early years where you learn French or Spanish. So within the region now, as African people now who have been displaced, have been now pinned on with this idea of being a West Indian. Within the region now, there are certain activities that I and I engaged in, around which we were able to mold this identity of being a West Indian. Because it's self-respect we need, and we need an identity. We're moving out of slavery. And the identity that was given to us is West Indian. And through activity now, particularly sports, that identity now will be welded. And so the emergence, for example, of the cricket team gave to the region this collective feeling that would represent being a West Indian. And we recognize that on the play field, we could defeat the Colonial at his game and dismiss now his theories about being superior. Because it was on the play field that we saw destroy the mythology of being inferior. On the plantation, we were told that we were inferior. They told us that in the religious school and in the books. But when we got into the play field, we could be able to dismiss that with performance. And so self-confidence grew through victory. And as the West Indian team rise, so did the self-reliance of the people in this region, the black people. To the extent that the cricket team now demanded a black captain for Frank Worrell. To the extent that the people of the region recognize that they can lead their own cricket team. Maybe they can lead their own nation. And out of the cricket experience came the inspiration for even political independence within these regions. This is the power of identity. This is the power of sport. This is the power of culture. And in this region, what has held this region together as a people is really its sporting life, cricket. At the academic level, educational level, the University of the West Indies has also been another linchpin. to maintain a unity amongst the people of this region. Now, the unity of this region has been sabotaged several times. And there are many forces up to today who believe that the regional unity is not the way to go. But African unity is what is being expressed through the region. And so we have to re-examine now this whole Caribbean identity. We have to recognize first and foremost that with the demise of the West Indies team over the 80s and the 90s, but since the 90s, there has been a shift in identity for the people of this region. Because since the 90s, the label West Indian has been slowly removed and has been replaced with the label Caribbean. And now we hear about Caribbean communities in the United States. We hear about Caribbean communities in the UK. In the 60s and 70s, those communities were labeled as West Indian communities. So there was a change. And the question I always ask myself, how did the West Indian become a Caribbean person? Who made that shift? Who defines I and I identity? So in the 1950s now, with the West Indies cricket team building up momentum and the regional unity building up, the need for cohesion in the region, this is now being motivated now through sport. And so when the crisis reached a point where the concept was now called federation, where the region will be unified and operate as a body. Each island was asked to make an input, and of course Jamaica and Trinidad were the front runners, biggest islands, biggest economies. It is the Jamaican people and the Jamaican politicians rather who voted against Jamaica's participation in the federation. So right on this very rock here now, we have forces that are determined that the unity of the region is not a priority. The Europeans, after fighting hundreds of years of war, they have come to the consensus that unity is vital. The Asians have come to that conclusion. And even the region called the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, even those islands have recognized the value of cooperation. We're having a problem in this bigger Caribbean, this area now that is no longer called the West Indies, but is now called the Caribbean. And in that, the collectivity is becoming almost impossible. Yet we see the value of it when the cricket team rises. When the cricket team was a dominant cricket team in the world, black people could walk and keep them head up high and look the white man in his eye in England. He could look the white man in his eye on his own turf and feel proud because he had something that represented himself that was superior to the white man, whose ideology was always that he is superior at all times. The sport is a battleground now, It's a battleground for ideology and establishing certain philosophies. And through the cricket, the black people now who were once heavily enslaved found a way to unify around a simple concrete activity, to the extent that the West Indies cricket team became a force internationally and could unite with other cricketing nations like Pakistan and India and have an impact against apartheid in South Africa. That is now becoming, that was the effect of the cricket. What unity can do when black people come together. So the region now, this Caribbean that we are now put into, and the region adopt this title, I think, in the 1990s under the Ronald Reagan initiative. Reagan put the region into a Caribbean basin and told us that now the Caribbean Basin Initiative will be the economic liberation for this region. And so we're no longer West Indians. We're now Caribbean people. And in that Caribbean-ness now, we don't have any oneness yet. We're trying with other institutions like court system, a justice system, which is why the CCJ comes about. And we're trying to think, is it possible that this region can really develop itself into a viable force globally, not only in sports, but within our economics and within our political arrangements. There are those, of course, who don't realize that as much as Marcus Garvey spoke about Africa, Marcus Garvey also spoke about pan-Caribbeanism. Yeah, because it's critical that the unity is closer to home than even abroad. So pan-Caribbeanism now has never really been an identity issue here, because most Africans here would speak about pan-Africanism. And they need to unite ourselves with Africa. That is a very valid request. Most valid, particularly in the early 1900s. I'm suggesting that in the 2015s, we all understand Africa. And we are all conscious of being Pan-African and Afrocentric. But perhaps the time has come to take a look at being Pan-Caribbean, where we develop more positive relations within our economics, within our trading, within the movement of people to the region, less suspicious about each other as islands, recognize the singularity amongst the people of the islands, the racial identity or foundation, which is really in Africa. So the Afrocentricity should be a strong focus in this Caribbean region then. And perhaps if we begin to think along those lines, we can develop an identity now that is not just Caribbean, but it takes us into the original selves, even beyond being African, into the Antillean construct. Yeah, we have to reconstruct our own story. Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis, continuing now into the section that we call Alkibulan. Kimit, our story. What is it that we are really all about? Long before the torture began, captivity and the enslavement and the reprogramming of our intelligence and the old works. Some people call it brainwashing. Deeper than that, scrubbing. Well, where and I use as a reference point to reconnect to our story is ancient Africa, and particularly the ancient Egyptian culture, ancient Africans. This is a crossroads where Europeans make their first contact with civilization. And so this is why they spend so much time trying to steal this point. Spend so much time trying to claim ancient Egypt through the movies and through books, trying to change the pigment of the Egyptians from black pigmentation to no pigmentation at all. So I and I who overstand that process must counteract that, maintaining the knowledge that gives us the right to claim these places based upon what we know. And what we know is that the ancients, particularly the Egyptians, had their own concept of the afterlife and the underworld, at their pantheon of gods and goddesses. This is the place where Moses grew up and got his learning and came up with notions of God, because these ideas were around him. They were in the libraries, they were in the reasonings, they were in the teachings, the gods and the goddesses of ancient Africa. In particular now, the afterworld, because I and I get preoccupied with the fear of death, and they leave us with their creation of what the afterworld look like, them projection. They have made at their own imagination, projected into us, and we have absorbed it, internalized it, and we are now fearful of this afterlife that they have created. And the afterlife that they have created for us is two choices have been given in the afterlife. One is torture, and one is pure pleasure and bliss. Just easy, just honey flowing, and milk running down your lips, and lactic acid building up. Yeah. And the other side now is torture, hellfire, lake of fire, worm I eat out your skin. Just unimaginable. Well, you see, before we were injected with these type of stories about the afterlife, I will share with you what some of the ideas that the Egyptians held. And we're talking about people now who were scientists and philosophers who recognized that the pharaohs were gods, and that they were female and male principles, understood the atom, understood the electron, understood the constellations. They had their own worldview and cosmology. But they also maintained that there were some things that were just natural and right. And they think that when a person gave up the physical body, that there was a soul that journeyed through the underworld. And that soul would be responsible to be able to answer certain questions when come face to face with the God of the underworld. This book I'm reading from now is called The Book of Coming Forth by Day by Molana Karenga. This is a better title than The Book of the Dead. The Book of Coming Forth by Day, Resurrection. And what one should be able to say upon arriving at the great hall of Maat, so that he or she may be purified from all wrongdoing, which he or she has done, and to face the Divine One without fear. Now, there are certain things that you have to be able to say, to confess to, when you get to that stage. And I want to share with you some of these confessions that you have to be able to utter in order to get past the gods of the underworld. And these declarations were called the declarations of innocence. So, in your own meditation now, each one-on-one listening now, you check yourself and be able to answer these questions honestly and say, how would you respond? And could you say this? 1, I have not done wrong to people. 2, I have not impoverished my family or friends. 3, I have not done evil in the place of righteousness. 4, I have not known that which does not exist. 5, I have not done evil. 6, I have not begun the day by demanding more work than is due me. 7, my name has not reached the offices of those who oversee servants. 8, I have not deprived the orphan of his or her property. 9, I have not done what the divine one hates. And 10, I have not slandered a servant to his or her superior. Now, it's really 42 of these confessions that the soul would have to be able to respond positively to. And these answered now are weighed against a heart that's in another part of the scale. 16 says, I have not caused anyone to suffer. How many people can say that in their own self? How many people can genuinely say that I have caused no one to suffer? I have not destroyed the laws of the divine ones. In other words, no, you see the ancient Egyptians, we don't talk about no jungle story. We don't talk about no cave, no people living in no trees. We're talking about highly civilized, developed people with philosophies and recognizing that there is virtue and that there is divinity. And if I were to look at these negative confessions and apply them to ourselves, we'd be able to decide whether we live in a decent life in a very serious way. And this is all long before King James Bible and Moses stealing out of these confessions to create his 10 commandments. The biggest difference between those commandments and the negative confessions is the first commandment that Moses uttered. Moses said that Yahweh said that I am a jealous God, and thou shalt have no other God before me. The ancients had gods and goddesses. None were imbibed with jealousy.
Sikele
ancient Egyptians embraced a philosophy that was called Matian, M-A-A-T, Mahat. Yeah, you need to make a note of that. M-A-apostrophe-A-T, Mahat. And this is the philosophy that I used to practice before we were forced to hold on to this Christian thing, this philosophy now of suffering and beginning and end. We had Matian philosophy. And in that philosophy, you know, there was a conception of what the human personality should be all about. So, personality now was already developed as a theory by the ancient Africans, long before we run up into Sigmund Freud and these guys in Europe. There was a philosophy and a psychology, an anthropology, all developed by the ancient Egyptians. Now, what the Matian concept of human personality was about, it was really based upon 5 basic principles. We're talking about personality theory now, you know. We're not talking about an ego and an id and a super ego and an animal foundation and all of them things the way the European imposed upon us. We're talking about what we had before we were captured. How we view personality. One of the founding principles in the philosophy was that human beings were created in the image of God. No, we read that in Christian philosophy, but here is the difference. The humans, this understanding carries with it several conceptions. In that now, human nature is endowed with the Almighty, is endowed by Ra, and is essentially good. Secondly, there is no need for any religious transformation. There is no need for no conversion or salvation, for the divine nature is already there. This is critical now to I and I as a people to know this. We don't have to be converted. There's no need for any salvation. Because the first principle is that man is a divine image of the Almighty. So the Almighty is already within. And there's no need then for any conversion or any salvation. Moreover, there is no conception of any original sin. In other words, now, in the Judeo-Christian framework of ontology, anthropology, there is a defection. There is some defect in man. The Egyptians didn't view man as defective. That is to say, there was no idea of any man being born in sin. But man was born within the context of possibility. You know, it's a whole different thing. And again, Egyptians thought that any offense to God could be corrected by teaching and self-corrective practices, and do not require any form of confession and conversion. They don't need any divine grace, because I and I is not unworthy, nor am I inherently sinful. You see, the training has been reversed, because in the Western world now, I and I told that I and I is unworthy, that I and I is inherently sinful, that I was born in sin, that I and I was shaped by iniquity. Well, you see, the ancients never embraced these type of ideas. And the Egyptians knew, and I know.
Hey, oh, Africa.
There is no original sin. Man dwells within the context of possibilities. The Egyptians also believed strongly in the teachability of man. The third concept of Machian conception of human being. That man can be taught. That man is malleable, capable of moral cultivation, which leads to the higher self. You know, we have to reclaim our philosophy to liberate ourselves from what has been part of the enslavement and the source of our fear. The Egyptians spoke about righteousness, spoke about the law of reciprocity. A blow struck is repaid by a similar one. You know, we just need to return to the source. The source of our being. Uprooted, yes, but we can reclaim and reconnect to the source. Source is Africa.
Then you go dig down Saddam. We see you a draw nearer and nearer, but the Isle mama got now go share ya. Oh, me nah get scared fi defend the square. Oh, Pasha Shama long girl, you no can come take Mama Africa from we again. Who no think who no can come take Mama Africa from we again. No, who no can come take Mama Africa from we again. Who no think who no can come take Mama Africa from we again. Them no like when we are in the hills. Them want we steer you fi pay them bills. When you think say you are save little cabbage. Them alone account off the mills. It's an authentic reggae beat. Make me skank off the shoes off of my feet. I get 3 Peter touch, 2 Bob Marley, and the little berry sound sweet. Who no can contact Mama Africa from we again. Who no think who no can contact Mama Africa from we again. No, who no can contact Mama Africa from we again. Who no think who no can contact Mama Africa from we again. So the bingy man a call Angola, call Angola, up on Mama Africa Angola, call Angola, call Angola, call Angola, up a Shashamal Angola, call Angola. Me from the fire from Babylon, not take no chat from Babylon. As a you corrupt the ghetto youths, we do no wicked act, who no Babylon. When me walk, I trample down Babylon.
For sure. How many of you believe in truth that you're really born as a sinner? That in the womb, at inception, when that sperm entered that egg, that that being is a sinner? How many really, really believe that? One sperm cell, one egg cell in unison. Is that a sin? So what is the sin? Is it the act or is it the result of the act? What is the original sin in the Christian world? What is this idea that has locked away black people into this self-condemnation cell, that they were born in sin and shaped by iniquity? Oh, whoa, what a dread thing to be. You mean the egg and that sperm have no chance before it don't even come out yet, and it condemned to sin and iniquity? No way. We are looking at that carefully. It's a powerful idea. It's all captivating. That an entire race can be captured into an idea that they were all born in sin and shaped by iniquity, shaped by evil. Blow, a dread condition that you know to accept. That you were born in sin and shaped by evil. You must be black and ugly. Yeah, that follows. Is the programming. Metamorphosis want to explore this very overwhelming concept of people being born in sin. And then what now is the source of this sin? What is the original sin? What is the original sin? And even before the original sin, what is the original lie? Yeah, we want to search out for the original sin and the original lie. Because since we were born into sin and shaped by iniquity, what is this original sin about now? And does it fall on the Chinese people? Because I don't hear them concerned about being born in no sin and shaped in no iniquity. They don't seem to be part of the Chinese race. Billions of them don't seem to be connected to this story. And the same thing I could say for the vast Indian populations. They don't seem to feel as though they're born in no sin. Them dealing with economics and them culture and them development and them are go through. So how is it now this thing just drop on black people so? And we walk around and hug it up. Oh yes, well you know, we were born in sin and shaped by iniquity. What it mean? Alright, so what is this original sin now? And where sin come from? Because obviously there before people. Or is a people thing? Let us check the stories. And we have to go into the book that they give us, that they record these stories in. And the story is about the beginning, because there's always things about this beginning that capture your imagination, you know. So it's the beginning now we have this original sin story. And some way, somehow, the concept of sin seems to be based upon disobedience. That if you disobey, you have sinned. So obedience is the virtue. You must obey. And not only must you obey, you must not ask a question either. Just obey. So if you ask a question, you are out of order. You're disrespectful if you ask a question. you are told to just obey. Where we hear say, you know, a story that one of the created divinities disobeyed. And in that disobedience, well, the matter of fact that in disobedience, it was a challenge. And in that challenge, there was a disturbance. And in that disturbance, there was a war. And in that war, there was a victors and there were losers. And the losers were sent out of the playfield, out of the arena, and sent to a different turf, a place called Earth. And there now they are going to be left to actually have influence over this creation that's going to take place. The Lord God now, after him struggle with the angel them and send some of them out, and send out the one them whom can't control, disobedient one them, and those come to earth now, and these are the forces now that will terrorize God's own creation. So the same construct now comes into being, because according to the story now, Lord God makes a man out of the dirt. And I was believing that all of us come from the dirt, and therefore when we die, we shall return to the dirt. Well, I know I came from egg and sperm. I came from liquid. I don't come from dirt. But the story speaks about this original man who comes from the dirt. And this original man now, this dirt man, this dirty man, this earth man, this clay man, man made from clay and saliva, as was a story in the Babylonian epic. We find that there is no loneliness on the part of the lone made meal, and there is need for a companion. Of course, while all these Christians taking place now, all those who were kicked out are on earth and them watching. So when Lord God doing his creation, it's not him alone. Remember, say him kick out whole of people and them land on earth. So everybody here watching him, you know, and they must see what him do. And they decide to make this companion now for this lonely meal. Whole of experiment going on. This is cloning. This is symbolic things, but they have us thinking it very literal. No, the sin don't come into being yet. The sin comes into being now because we hear that there is disobedience by the man and the woman. Then disobey the instructions given to them by them creator. But I'm saying to the item that even before that disobedience, there was a lie. A lie was told. There was an original lie told before even the original sin. And then wondering who told the lie. All right, stay tuned.
If you take this too serious, then you really need some church. I wanna go church from how long. Rather sleep through the morning and put on a slam. But me woman, she a pressure me fi go confession. So me decide fi go and kill the conversation. So me sit down right beside Sister Pam, who a tell me everything about the congregation. About Sister Paulette and her gay husband, and how she still asleep with the minibus man. Sister Gwen, she a Christian, but last night them catch her in a stone love session. She a do the dirty dance to the Mataran song, and I say she get the thing them from Baby Sham. Tell me about the one deacon who a drive the big Benz away and get money from. That's why nobody no want give no collection. No see the church roof a leak away and really depend. Every Sunday is a competition. This enough of them a go like them in a name brand. That they sitting where she will come out of some chunk bottom with the can for bar smell. That a no new fashion. Then she proceed fit about the man. Them only come a service to look church woman. And we pull up the gal and talk about religion. But we couldn't say nothing because me know me a one. Nah, miss me. So pop rock your sweet so. Don't side some call your sister. Have to secure me walk through the pearly gate. Next Sunday nah, miss me.
So we're looking into this original sin that them put up on us in story. But it's clear man who was given a born woman and she was disobedient. Even though she wasn't given any instructions, but she disobeyed. But I'm saying before she even disobeyed, a lie was uttered, and it's not from the man. The utterance came from the same Lord God now, who is the creator. That same creator story now, because in the conversation now with the woman, we are told that Lord God asked her, why you pick off the tree? And she said, Satan tell me to do it. Him say, eh? Him say, yeah. She say, yeah. She said, Satan say, a lie you tell. Because you tell me, say, if me eat of the tree, me I go dead. And Satan tell me, say, a lie, because if me eat of the tree, my eye going open. And see me eat of the tree, I'm doing dead. So before the original sin that is being fabricated upon I, there was an original lie. And it's the Lord God is the author of that first lie, because him lied to the woman. And the woman proves him lie because him said to her, if you eat of the fruit, you will die. And Satan said to the woman, a lie, Lord God said, attack. If you eat of the fruit, your eyes shall be open, and you shall be like gods. And woe behold unto what happened. They did eat of the fruit, and their eyes were open. So but even before that original sin was created and imposed, there was an original lie. And you see, if you lie, you're a thief. Serious thing. This is what is in the mythology. You can check the story, read the conversation as given to us by those who say they received the conversation. That there is an original lie and an original sin then. And what then therefore could be the sin? Is it a disobedience? When you weren't given instructions? You see, black people begin to pin them life into that story as a beginning. We will be at war with one another forever. Because it's a mythology. And we have our own stories of creation out of ancient Egypt. Does not involve with any male being created out of dirt and a female out of the rib, and then together they shall struggle and then discover that they are naked and then be chased out of a garden. And then their children become jealous of each other and commit mass murder. And then the son who runs away now finds himself a wife. Come on, black people. Lies. Original lies.
Last night them picture in a stone love session. She a do the dirty dance to the Mataran song, and I say she get the thing them from Baby Sham.
And then we are told to accept and believe that in this garden now there were trees. Trees that had knowledge, trees that had information in them about good and evil. Planted, of course, by the same one who made the garden, would put evil in the garden, which means evil wasn't really in man, Evil was already in the tree. Yeah, so how can man be born in his sin and be responsible for iniquity when these things are in existence in the mythology long before the creation of even the dirt man? What is this tree? What symbolically does it represent? A tree that has knowledge of good and evil. Is it a person? Is it a person that has knowledge? Because them speak about man as a tree, you know. Yeah, as a metaphor for a tree. We have limbs and we have the same type of construction and trunk, and there's a similarity between man and a tree. So is that the metaphor? That man is a tree planted by the river of water, or that there's trees in the Garden of Eden? So we have to re-examine the language, because if we look at the thing continuously, literally, there is no liberation. We're stuck in a situation where the woman is being defined as the source of evil. That cannot be. That males and females are in opposition, and so black man and black woman will always be at war because of that story. That cannot be. So we have rebuffed this original sin construct. And the original sin can apply to all African people, because African people have been here before the Adam and Eve story. Thousands of years. Spread across the African continent, north, east, south, and central. And we must continue to pay respect to the other racial nations, like the great Chinese, who are not factored into this garden story. The Indian race with their millions are not a part of this particular original sin story. So the African people must see that is something that has been created for I and I to lock us into a certain space and time, and have us in fear. Time to liberate the self out of this garden.
Every Friday night, I'm tuned into Stars FM. Metamorphosis, one of the best things to happen to Jamaican radio.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let Styles FM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Styles FM, for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
Hey, this is me, brother Gary. I tell you, say, if you want to advertise anything you have, if you sell anything, truck, car, bus, anything you're keeping, make sure you advertise it past Styles FM. Call this number 439-5160. 439-5160. And I guarantee you, everybody I go in your business.
Styles FM presents Fan Fusion Party Episode 2. Retro Gunyan, the deadliest retro music party event of the year.
Styles FM.
Ticket outlets for Fan Fusion Party in Portland, YK's Pharmacy, Upstairs Singer, Port Antonio, Zilla's Kitchen, Bridge Street, Port Antonio, Sippin's Burger in Prospect, Port Antonio, and Shoppers Pride Supermarket, Buff Bay, and in St. Mary, Hair Dazzle in North Bay, Bob's Super Center in North Bay, Champy's Restaurant in Highgate, Banz's Electronics, Port Maria, and Miss Brown in Wallingford.
Remember Styles FM on social media. View us on YouTube, Styles FM Radio. Follow us on Instagram at Styles FM. Like us on Twitter at Styles FM 961. Become a fan on Facebook, Styles FM 96.1.
Look
for those who are really get an understanding of the literature in the Genesis. Genesis 1, verse 26 tells you that God, the creator of sound, said, "Let us make man in our image and our likeness." So in Genesis 1, there's a concept of a God as a plural entity. Us. Let us make man in our image and let them have dominion. So we recognize that man also has a plural construct, plural identity in the first chapter of Genesis. So God is plural and man is plural. And man goes beyond just being them now, it goes into the definition of being male and female. So people who are scripturally conscious and hold on to the Bible as the book of truth, if that is your perspective, then you have to acknowledge that in Genesis 1:26, that males and females were created, and these males and females were called man. And like the ancient Egyptians were made in the image and likeness of the Almighty, divine and right and natural. So, the plurality of God and the gender ratio of God is something that the Africans recognize. The thing about this version of the Bible that we read, in chapter 2, there is an attempt to create a next man. That is now going, a next male that's going to be called Adam. So I have to recognize that there are two creation stories. And all of those you who are Bible students need to read this for yourself carefully. That it tells you that the creation was finished on day 7. That on the 6th day, it was man that was made, males and females, that were sent out to multiply and replenish. And it is this man, males and females that would evolve into other racial groups. This would be the original man. Males and females sent out to multiply and replenish the earth. So on the 7th day, we are told that the Almighty rested because the creation was over. All the animals were made, all the plants were made, the fish and the birds and the people were made. But now, there's an addition now by chapter 2. Chapter 2 now seems to be an insertion into the story, with a new creation about a single male now named Adam, who's going to name all of these animals who were created thousands of years ago in the original creation. Not Nagoso. It's two stories. And if you want to hold on to one of the stories, then chapter 1 is much closer to a reality than chapter 2. Because in chapter 1, the concept of God is almighty and all-knowing and just and peaceful. Created man, set them out, males and females, to go out and multiply and replenish the earth. So there's no naming of any fish. There's no name of no whale. There's nobody to call no animals and name them. This is a different story written by King James and his authors and his writers. So I must make the distinction and free yourself now from that Adam and Eve mythology and that original sin and that curse. Yeah, it's a mythology, but it has been conflated with a story that is more foundational, which is Genesis chapter 1. So in 6 days, on the 6th day, man was created. Males and females, sent out to multiply and replenish. And on the 7th day, the Almighty rested. And then in chapter 2, we are introduced to Lord God, who will attempt now to make a male out of dirt and a female out of his ribs. That is not the African conception of our origin. what's going on? What's going on? Enough things going on. But before we even deal with what's going on, let me just hail the people who are part of the audience listening to Metamorphosis right here in Port Antonio and in the various spaces. People locked into the stylesfm.com, people on the Facebook, people in the various states of the US of A, in the UK, in the Caribbean, in Africa, Asia, hailing all the people around the earth. And even the astronaut them on the space station, we know saying to listen to Metamorphosis, because we know that you are there and you're listening. And you're wondering how our African people thinking about space programs. Are we still thinking that there's a heaven up there when you are up there looking down on us? Have we come out of the illusion? All right, we're working on it. So, Afrocentric views on news. A lot of things are going on as usual, and it's hard to keep track of everything. So you try to connect the dots to the events that make sense in your world. Yes, that you can have some sort of understanding rather than overwhelmed by breaking news. Well, on the international level, you know that war is a big business. And that there's a thing called disaster capitalism. Yes, it's a type of capitalism that is based upon war, where you incite war, incite the destruction of infrastructure and people, and then you set up a meeting for peace, and then there's a rebuilding process, and money turns over in rebuilding, and that seems to be a methodology now. Disaster capitalism. These people come around and destroy your economy and set war amongst your places and create pure disturbance. And then them come in now to help you. Haiti has been a serious victim of that for a number of years. So, in this world of war and destruction, there must be some spaces where people can find some form of solace. And obviously to find that, I think you have to turn to things that are cultural, things that are indigenous, things that are relaxing, and give you a chance to experience even a little bit of leisure. Well, it just happens that within this region that we're living in, this Caribbean, much activity has been taking place because Russia and China have got much closer to each other in their struggle against the United States for world dominance. And in that light, this region now has become very central to these powers. China is here. The Russians are making their presence felt again through their Cuban connections. But the Cuban connections now have made a serious realignment with the United States. And not only have Cuba realigned with the United States now, Cuba is now realigned with the Vatican. So Obama opened the door to enter Cuba. The Pope has now been welcomed to the extent that Castro, Raul, is considering to convert himself back to Catholicism and become a Catholic, which means that Cuba is repositioning itself economically and politically to be a serious force in this here region. Cuba has just re-established diplomatic relations with the United States. And they're also re-establishing the ferry service from Miami to Cuba. Now they're moving at speed. And it will be very interesting to observe what the Cuban economy will look like in another year or two when America is fully there. Will we see the McDonald's and the jeans and the... It's a new market. And it means that a place like Jamaica, maybe just put in the backwaters. And we might be left on our own selves. And so we have to turn to other things other than tourism. It is instructive that we look ahead. And as much as tourism is now generating so much revenue to keep this country afloat, if that revenue would be cut in half, yeah, where do we generate our own money from? It is a question that we will have to resolve very, very shortly. The region is also becoming so important that France is now also visiting Haiti, the French leader, and the French have decided to cancel the debts of the Haitians. This is a long, long burden that has tied on Haiti. Suddenly they have decided to remove that burden because they know also have an interest in the Caribbean region. It is only the Africans here who don't cite it up, you know. It's only I and I don't recognize the power and the value of ourselves in this region. Where the Chinese recognize it, they are planning to set up a new canal somewhere in Nicaragua to rival the Panama Canal. Things are happening around us. And you see, if we don't pay attention as people on the island, all of this borrowing and begging and scraping will simply intensify. But I think that there's a solution within Jamaica, within our own selves, within our own agricultural potential. And we'll soon come to that.
Skies go. Poison is the wind that blows from the north, the south, and east. Oh, mercy, mercy me. All things ain't what they used to be. No.
Yeah, things just ain't what they used to be. You see, on this Jamaica rock now, there was a time when anybody who was closely related to marijuana, ganja, would be ostracized. Yes, there was a time in Jamaica when it was even, if it was known that ganja smoke even blow upon you, you're in trouble. There's a time when you could be imprisoned for a seed of ganja if found in your possession. There's a time when Rastafarians will be physically attacked and brutalized for having marijuana, ganja, cannabis in their possession. Okay. Hard times, brutal times, the state having no mercy on those who dare to engage with this plant, the cannabis. So, 1930s, Pinnacle, Leonard P. Owell began to speak of His Imperial Majesty and Rastafari. Builds an economy at Pinnacle. And an important crop in the economy was ganja. Camp was raided and destroyed by the army. And Rasta was scattered all about the island. They call it the dispersion. And wherever Rastafari rest and all a meditation, there was ganja. And so the police always knew that wherever Rastaman was, there was ganja. And so Rastaman has been a target for decades for brutality, prison sentence, upheaval, for ganja. Now what has happened? What has happened now to the plant? Has the plant changed in any way? Does the plant, is the plant different now? I think it's the same plant. So what is it that has changed? What has changed that this plant no longer makes you a victim of police attack and brutality? Well, we see what has happened. Several factors. But on the island, one of the turning points to bring about any change that we have seen was the fact that many persons of high standing in the society were losing their ability to go to America because they were being they had on their records, police records, convictions. And the convictions were not around violence. The conviction was about possession of ganja. And I am saying that in order to ease the burden on this class of people, legislation has been put in place to make it no longer a immediate conviction. And note the word, it is no longer an immediate conviction if you are found in possession of the same ganja that will cause beatings and whippings 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So here we are now in 2015, and they have fast-tracked this legislation to what they call decriminalize ganja. And I'm saying that decriminalization of ganja in Jamaica is a hoax. In a very simple way, let me put it this way. If 2 years ago, possession of ganja was a conviction-able type of crime, where I could become a criminal, and the law is put in place wherein that same object to which would make me a criminal is being decriminalized. But at the same time, it's the same object I can go to prison for. In other words, now I can still become a criminal for having possession if I cannot finance and pay the punishment outlined by the law. So I'm saying now decriminalization has not really prevented the person in possession from being a criminal. You can still become a criminal, because if you are fined $500 instead of one now, and you can't pay it, and you're unable to fulfill the financial obligations, you're going to ultimately end up being convicted and imprisoned. So the same thing that them say, you cannot become convicted over, you can still end up in prison over the same thing. So what has really changed? What has changed is that the state now receives $500 now per person, a potential $2,000 if the person doesn't pay that $500. So it is serious revenue collections, and you can still go to prison. So what is decriminalization if it is not a hoax? And what is a hoax? An act intended to deceive or trick. What is a hoax? It is a deliberately fabricated falsehood made to masquerade as truth. It is not true that ganja can now be smoked anywhere. It is not true that ganja is legal. And it is not true that you cannot end up in prison for less than 2 ounces. Decriminalization is a hoax.
It's the way that we rock when we doing our thing. La la la. It's the natural high that the UTH bring. Ooh la 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 la. Ooh la 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 la.
The biggest part of the hoax is what the law says about hemp. Because there's an attempt to regulate hemp when hemp is not a drug. There's an attempt to hide the power that can be generated from hemp as an industry. Because there's no reason for hemp to be drawn into this drug issue, because hemp is not a drug. Hemp lacks THC. Hemp is an industrial property.
It's the natural high that the UTH bring. So as the phoenix sunrises in the endless skies floating, THC most potent chocolate gene with eyes open. Orange ash ice cream prepared for 20 p.m. Put steaming onto my lungs, girl, as forever I'm smoking while I'm choking from a pushing bomb, a pushing bang, gnarly we pull pineapple pushing hands, superstars, gnarly telling the people the healing of the nation is the trees. So why not
It is the hemp. It is the hemp that we need to explore.
It's the way that we rock when we doing our thing. Ooh la la la. It's the natural high that the UTH bring. Ooh la 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 la.
Yeah? Yeah, come in, Ross. Come in, Virgin. You're live, you know. Ali? You there? No, I try to get you on the line, but no. Yeah, how you say? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, man, I'm here there loud and clear.
All right, come in. What the man I say?
Yeah, man, just thanks to the man presenting greatness, you know?
Harry?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna pay attention to some things that happen. I was listening to the news the other day with the health minister, Ferguson, right?
Right, Fenton Ferguson.
Yeah, Fenton, yeah. And I don't know if they are really in gallery or, you know, pay attention or catch in sound them, you know?
Yeah.
I listen to some program which is, you know, especially Straight Talk with Jerry. I mean, nobody really discuss this topic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because his plan is to start to give the teenage girls them, to vaccinate the teenage girls, them sperm protect them from cancer.
Oh.
As the cervical cancer, whatever it is.
Mm.
Our next look at Dr. Virgin, which is a part of them clan. In sound like him is from the island, the accent where him have somewhere, but he never had. I mean, he's a part of them clan. I mean, think this thing is a trick thing, this thing is a part of, you know, control population, you know, this thing that has been, you know, put in place for a while now, where the America government that put in place the globalization thing, you know.
Yeah.
Within the all them have kill over 2 billion people in the 21st century with collapse of food and water.
Okay.
Females into fighting and find ways to kill significant fertile female.
Yeah.
So giving these teenagers, even the boy, them never plan to vaccinate, you know.
Yeah, yes, there's a campaign.
It's a serious,
A serious campaign is on, you know. And the whole notion of population control Yeah, the population control desire is strong in the bigger powers, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a sure.
Serious thing.
Yes, a serious thing.
And people to pay attention to it in the yard. How come you don't protect people from all the things? And say the people are so confused. They're so disorganized, the government. They have so much things on a deal in one time, and them not doing nothing productively. You know, them come and them come up with the ganja thing now. And it's a big distraction, you know. Then just like how the system set up in America.
Yeah.
For 5 years, them change up the systems. And then you can't settle down, you know, then just have your mind.
Your mind moving. You know? All right,
and
all right.
Other things, you know.
All right.
Every year.
Give thanks for the long link. Tell little people where you're calling from. Because people might not know where you're calling from, you know.
I'm going to call up right up in our booyard, as you said, the big mango.
Okay, you know the big mango.
And this is just go do more, you know.
All right, all right. So, give thanks every time for the link. Rastafari live.
It's a privilege, you know.
All right, my brethren. Give thanks.
You know, the chance like them of Rastafari University of Fire Life.
Will do. Ras Makonnen listening, Ras Osa listening. Isis.
That's right. Man has a love.
Yes, sir.
It's the way that we rock when we doing nothing. Ooh, la, la, la. It's a natural high that the UTH bring. Ooh, la, 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 la. Ooh, la, 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 la. A real thing. Ready now, this is no more illusion. Rastafari is real. I've been behold by the face of a glorious king. Vision in the earth, then meanwhile my heart sing. Rastafari is real, the world has to know. Love and unity we come to show. Then listen now, you pre the liberty, just check the streets. The youth upon them mission cause them babies got to eat. Them give them guns and coat out and round them never do it. But the most I never ever sleep. That's why me chant judgment, burn out them soul. Treat the ghetto youth and see them out of control. Judgment, where the fire have a burn. Babylon just never want learn. That's why me chant judgment.
So we'll take into our little news section here coming out of it, but we're dealing with the thing that is facing the rock now, this ganja that has been blown up, and the smoke is creating a sort of confusion that even Rastafari now seem to be losing them focus and pursuing this whole celebration that no man can simply smoke ganja. That is an illusion. We cannot be deceived by the state and their machineries and machinations. We have to focus on the development of economic industry. And as much as Rastaman has been oppressed for ganja and brutalized for its possession, it is a false celebration to think that this amendment to the act has provided liberation, because according to the act, Rastaman can only smoke it in the places that are called tabernacles and have been designed for smoking herb. So the real challenge to Rastafari is how to get money, how to make money. And there's money in the plant, but we have to shift the meditation from following the smoke trail to building now industry. And the industry rests in the same plant. It's in the hemp, but in the law don't speak to hemp, you know. The law just mention hemp by the way. But there's nobody in Jamaica putting hemp at the front of the trust. It's about the ganja and the recreational and medicinal types. That will bring no wealth to black people generally, you know. Hemp can liberate not just Jamaica, but the Caribbean. it can liberate African, Caribbean, and Pacific states where hemp can be grown. And it is not a drug. So it's not involved in no therapeutic things and no permission from any super states. The wealth rests in the cannabis plant, but it does not rest in the smoking ganja. And it does not rest in the recreational ganja. It does not rest in the medicinal either. Rastaman been using the medicinal properties long time and will continue to. But Rastafari and black people in general and Jamaicans as a whole, we want money. And money comes from agro-industry. We are farmers at a foundation level. We are agricultural people. And everybody can grow hemp. And hemp is not illegal. We don't need any permission. And we'll continue to share with my listeners what I call hemp facts. And trees take approximately 20 years to mature. And the hemp takes 4 months. So we can have 2 to 3 crops of hemp every year. Hemp needs no pesticides because insects them don't think it tastes good. It's not palatable to insects. Hemp don't need no herbicide either because it grows too quickly for any weed to compete with it. From hemp, there are 25,000 products that can be made. I mean, I said to the people now in Jamaica and the world and Africa and all the various places where black people live in the sunshine and in the climate that we have, that we can focus on the growing of this wild ganja called hemp. It can grow in virtually any climate and soil condition. The seed does not contain anything that is in the soy milk, certain type of anti-nutrients. A hemp crop produces nearly 4 times as much raw fiber as an equivalent size tree plantation. What we have to understand, my people who are listening, is that the economic liberation that we're searching for does not rest in medicinal ganja. This idea about billions of dollars coming here because we can be the centerpiece of this, it's just the same thing like when the multinational come in and they control it. We are just producers of raw material, but we own the industry. And I'm saying now is the time to move in on the hemp industry. A small factory can be set up just for paper. And next one can set up for oils. We can use the seeds, we can use the bars, there are so many aspects that can move this island out of the IMF grip. Because that is where the liberation will come, when the country can generate enough money to generate its own foreign exchange. You get foreign exchange by selling things overseas. But if you're not making anything at home, there's nothing to sell overseas. So we go into the plant, we go into the cannabis, and what we make is what the poor people can participate in. Not the labs that require technical and high scientific research minds. We're talking about factories that can employ mass labor, that can convert agricultural plants, cannabis, into industrial products. Fiber, hemp oil, hemp concrete block is too much. 2,500 products resting in the hemp. And them have us chasing down ganja, thinking that no, we can smoke it for free. $500 in the head side, $2,000 if you refuse that, and jail if you can't afford that. It's a hoax. Make a move into the hemp.
the language that you use. Ensure a comprehension with the words them that you choose. Simplify a statement or attention you will lose unless you are intentionally trying to confuse. Cause I refuse to sit back and watch you hold the people down, floating in your top positions while the rest of them are drowned. Cause in the sentence of creation, all you are is just a noun. The verbs, the action, words that put the power to the stone. And that's way beyond profound. When the wealth is for the few, they feel that there is no one they should have to answer to. So the things that they will say are not the things that they will do. Cause even after all the talk, the people still don't have a clue. But at least this much is true, information is the key. Yes, knowledge is the only way the people will be free. So it isn't.
So one more thing about the hemp. Hemp seed. The seed germinates within 24 to 48 hours. And it emerges in 5 to 7 days with good moisture and warm temperature. Hemp that is grown for fiber should be seeded as early as possible, while hemp that is grown for grain should be seeded later to minimize the height of the stalk. It's a scientific approach to growing this fantastic plant. It is considered to be the most versatile plant on the planet, the cannabis. It is the key to our economic liberation, not through smoking, but through the development of industrial products, particularly paper. And I'm saying even toilet paper. We could even start off by having a toilet paper factory. That would save foreign exchange. In other words, now, it's not just about earning foreign exchange, it's about saving that which we don't have by making the things that we need. How about a hemp paper, toilet paper factory as a starters? And we can even take care of our own backyard.
In the question of creation, you are greater than the known. The verb.
Rolino, what's Pele now? What a beautiful goal from Pele. El Rey.
The way that Maradona has been able to do. And he's hurting England again here. This is a brilliant run. It's one of the World Cup great goals.
Set.
They get away first time. Tyson Gay right alongside Usain Bolt, but here he goes, streaking away already. It's Bolt all the way. He's looking round at Gay. Watch the clock. It's goal for Bolt. And again, he's done it again.
When you take the lead, make sure you can maintain it. Oh God.
Metamorphosis Sports. Athletics is in the air. Serious things going on in the world of athletics. World of sprinting. You know, Jamaica, we just had a invitational meet here. Jamaica International Invitational Meet. And the highlight of that meet was the resurgence of Asafa Powell. And in that meet, Asafa Powell produced a blazing time, 9.84. And it was a relief to the Jamaican public. Asafa is a darling boy, he's a poster boy of athletics in Jamaica. First man to hold, do so many sub-10s, and really a favorite of Jamaica, and people I think like it, feel very good when he succeeds and feel very bad when he fail. So this looks like a rebound for Asafa Powell. It's just that today, at the start of the IAAF circuit, a faster time was produced by an American runner. So at the Doha meet, the man Justin Gatlin, he has thrown down the gauntlet, as it is said. And the man did a blazing 9.74 to win 100 meet. Now, this is not the fastest time in the world, 2015. And apparently now, this Virgin has paid his dues. He was, nabbed for dealing drugs, and he paid his penance, and he has returned to athletics, and he's been running faster and faster at 33 years old. And of course, the whole preparation now is to meet Usain Bolt sometime. And of course, athletics need rivalries. So we're recognizing that the Americans feeling as though Jamaica is too small an island to be the world's best at sprinting. And so now they've found Gatling, they've dusted him off, bring him back. All it really means now is that a man like Usain must realize that there's real competition this time around. And maybe with Gatling running fast, now you can really lower it to 9.5 something. Yeah, and then just done him. So we say it in Jamaica, we're done him. At another level now, the American relay team of 2012, they were stripped of their medal because of Tyson Gay being caught with drugs. And so the medal has been removed from them. And it's the thing about the world of sports, when the top-ranked people or when the persons are found guilty for violating, they usually get some very serious punishment. Sometimes they're banned, sometimes they're ostracized, sometimes they're whatever, there's a punishment. We want some of this thing carry over into the political world. Like when political leaders do these certain things, so they are also called up and drafted out and maybe even kicked out. But we don't reach there so yet. I want to talk a little bit now quickly about football and governance. Okay, now, as I said earlier in the program, FIFA issued some directives to the JFF, and they've had to comply, otherwise the monies would have been cut off forever. What was really happening is that they've moved from 37 people in the federation down to about 17 for more efficient management. This is a demand by FIFA, and it had to be obeyed by the JFF. No, I am saying that the situation is not much different from our political government. Our political government has 63 persons who are MPs. In other words, we have 63 constituencies. And this may be part of why the island is so unmanageable. Because an island this size ought not to have so many people ruling it. In other words, now, why should the island be divided into 63 different little fiefdoms? It makes the place unmanageable. And perhaps I'm suggesting that if the IMF, like FIFA, was to instruct the government to cut its size, or else there will be no more loans, something radical would happen in governance. And a lot of money would be saved. So think about this now. We have these MPs who are being paid these, call it $2 million a year, for example. This is the low end, $2 million a year. And they are in office for 5 years. So each of them, let us say, make 10 million in them 5 years. This is salary. And there are 63 of them. So 10 times 63 is 630 million. We can call it $1 billion paying out to these persons to govern our island. Well, the type of governance we're getting, we're not getting any good return for our money. Perhaps a time has come where the population must really think about asking the government to shrink itself. Because if the teachers can't get a raise and the civil servants can't get a raise, then we don't need such a big, overloaded type of government structure where all those persons are paid well, get razor pay, get all sorts of perks. And the people who are at the base, who are really providing the work, can't get a raise. So maybe the nurses and the teachers and the doctors and all these people must begin to pressure now for a cut in the whole parliamentary framework. We don't need so much people leading. Too much cook spoil the broth. Texas is one of the biggest states, so is California, and they don't have 63 people running the place. They have one governor. So this island don't need 63 people in our parliament. Each parish needs only maybe 1 or 2 representatives for efficiency. So me I say, we're top loaded, we're top heavy. And we must take a page out of FIFA and apply that to our political governance and slash this parliamentary thing into even half. And all of that monies could go back towards the teachers and the nurses and the policemen. Yeah, we need to redistribute the money by shrinking the top. Yeah, man, and increasing the money at the bottom. Maybe this way we get a better service from the servants and a better community, better relations. Right now, we're top heavy. FIFA show the way. Yeah, man, cut the top. We need to cut the top. Yeah, man, need some salary freeze. Need to shrink the need to merge the ministries. Some of them are irrelevant. Yeah, man, enough money being wasted at the top. Make a follow FIFA and chip up your house.
The streets of Jamaica coming live and direct. Proud to dig in there, we no need no mic check. Stepping at the place, nobody disrespect. Just I want to get the youths about the choice for them I make. Lordy Lordy, now join no party. Look what the politician them do to Claudy. Look what the politician them do to Jim. Him son resurrect it and look what them do to him. Cause they will use and dispose of you, those who are close to you. If you choose to tread the road, you know. So brother, if you are tonight, carry the scars of a coffee. I carry the fire of a Melchizedek. When your mind get a chance, represent. Cause you might have no past, you present. So, not take them class, love your past, then resent you. Want make it fast, so them last every cent too. So we go back to the ancient ways. Untold secrets that remained unchanged. Mentally get unchained. I want goal, I want aim, and the same what you're saying.
Got to stay true to the things you know are right. Nothing worth the gain you attain by sudden flight. Brother, keep your goals in sight. True. Even in the darkest night. Have faith in the Father, the one who shines your light.
Mercy me, them corrupt and covetous sneaker from me. I they am in here, one thing that you say. The intellect a play up on the poor poverty. Nobody now dance to a two-party. Oppression, brainwashing and nefarious schemes to keep the have-nots where they think they ought to be. I man, your promises are better when the poll time close. Then back to the same after we not announce. Rocks down a river bottom, never know so that. So many of me brother them trapping at the blind. Black full of shot, but
dread and terror upon them. Good God of grace, will I have His mercy. I miss the old slave driver. Time is catching up on you. Old slave driver. I know your sins them are on. So carry we go home. I bring we run a east. Well, come on a Rastaman. A Rasta no live on no capital land. Oh yeah, mean. Carry we go home. Oh yeah, mean. I said we settle and cease. Well, come on a Rastaman. A Rasta no live on no capital land. Well, Lord America a capital land.
No, we have 14 parishes on this island. 14 parishes. And we have 63 people to govern. So many persons are needed in each parish. I'm saying if we want to be realistic about governance and look at it in a practical way, each parish doesn't need more than 2 representatives, you know. Yeah, man. For accountability. So we're talking about 30 people. And that's still a lot of people for island this size. If we want to talk about accountability. But because we're locked into this Westminster model and central government, everything is trying to be run from a center. And at the same time, with so many divisive little fiefdoms, the center can't cater to all of these little fiefdoms. So the whole thing is disorganized, and there cannot be no collectivity amongst the people. What you have is each little MP is a little king in his own rightfulness. You have his own little empire and his own little set of followings and followers. So the more the country is divided, is the more we become fragmented. So part of the healing ought to be a lessening of the division of the country, meaning we don't need so many people in the parliament in the first place. So one of the attempts should be to find money to pay our workers, is to reduce the size of the parliament. Less MPs and more accountability for those who are put in power. We don't need King's House. We don't need a governor. All of these offices can be abolished and the resources given to the police, given to the teachers and given to the nurses. Yeah, man, we have to re-examine it because the funding can't come all from taxes and the taxes are coming from the same people. That is impossible. You can't have the workforce hold strain for 5 years and then in the 6th year there is no raise. When everything raised 500% around the people. We have to close down certain things then. We can close down King's House. Yeah, we can close down the Governor General. Close that office. We can reduce the MPs that are in the parliament. Because we want efficiency and we want production. So it's not about freezing the wages of the hard workers. It's about reducing and shrinking the income of the people who have been put on the top. And there are so many people on the top. It's top heavy. It's a top heavy society we have. And the people who are at the top are all benefiting with pensions and all sort of gratuities in place. If the money will not increase in terms of earning foreign exchange, then the money to the worker must increase by reducing the things that are redundant. So, the Governor General Office and the excessive parliamentarians, the cabinet, all those things should be reduced. That the population can breed. That teachers don't have to borrow at the 3rd week. Yeah, that people can come to school, send their kids to school, and they can go to work and eat lunch and don't have to be hungry while their children go to school. Revolution in the thinking and the governance. Taking a note from FIFA. It's not the bigness of the size that gives you efficiency. And we overloaded at the top in our governance. Police want more money. Teachers must be better paid. So must the nurses. There must be x-ray machines in the hospitals. The health service, educational service. Those services must improve. It requires money. The money is here. But all right there at the top. So, we could do what we have to do. Metamorphosis.
Teach me all the principles him learn from the land and as I'm me alone him have me not for sharing passion. No girl around can intervene cause she no know what I want. This perfect specimen of him me humble lion. Humble lion, him I'm a humble lion. Humble lion, him I'm a humble lion. Humble lion, him I'm a humble lion. Humble lion. No man now violate from him dep on the scene. The only tenderness him have reserved with the queen. And if you catch a glimpse of him, you know what I mean. Nearly 7 foot of muscle and a size 40.
Hail up to Splash FM out there in New Jersey. Hail to the people in Atlanta, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Cincinnati, North Carolina. All the people in the States who are part of Styles FM listen to the Metamorphosis. Give thanks for the link. People in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, listening to the Metamorphoses. Hoping that the item practicing how to think freely and fearlessly. Here the people who are in Europe, people in the UK, region in England, who listen to the Metamorphoses and find inspiration to question their own fears and to challenge your own doubts. Because these are just things that are within the imagination of man.
I stand strong in a Babylon. I stand strong in a Babylon. I stand strong in a Babylon. I didn't do no wrong. I didn't do no wrong. I didn't do no wrong. Didn't do no wrong. His Majesty, Big Marcus Garvey. His Majesty.
Yeah, Metamorphosis on the way out. And on the way out, I just want to remember that as African people, we are experiencing some serious trauma. Not just within our living here, but I want to just shout out in the spirit world to the Africans who are struggling in this migratory movement between Africa and the Mediterranean lands, where thousands of Africans are dying in the sea, trying to get out of Africa to get into places that seem to hold greater prosperity. Enough of we are drowned, hundreds and hundreds going down almost daily, trying to leave from Libya to get across to Italy. So when I think about the plight of our people and how is it we can transform our condition globally. But in order to do that, it begins with the perspective of the individual, recognizing that wherever one African is, Africa is there. Yeah, we don't have to be on a continent to be African. You don't have to be born on the continent to be African. Because the Chinese is Chinese wherever the Chinese is born. So it is with the Indian people. So African people, black people, we are what we are wherever we are. Peace, prosperity, unto the eye and the eye. Night Nurse, special love.
I will watch my footsteps. I will watch them in a Babylon. I will watch my footsteps.
I also want to heal Impy Skimpy Pam. I met Impy Skimpy Pam this evening by Piggy. She had enough garments, but I hear say she is a Impy Skimpy. I tell her I'm going to find a way for people and watch her. Anyway, peace unto the ones and ones. And Metamorphosis is here. Feel no way. Transformation is normal. They say the opposite of up is down and in and out and wet and dry. And they try to trick us that the opposite of death is life. But it's not true. Opposite of death is birth. Life is eternal. Life is everlasting. Life is eternal. Birth and death are moments within the life. So we focus on the living, the doing, and the being. Rastafari.